In a world where everything is getting faster and faster, Angelbird has two new products to support the lifestyle. The Performance Card Reader CFexpress B, a USB-C 4.0 40 gigabit per second card reader, and a whole family of high-performance SolidFlex cables ranging from 32 centimeters to 4.5 meters in length, with performance up to 40 gigabits per second and 240 watt power delivery. And while this may sound like just another card reader and just another fistful of cables, stick around to learn why these matter.
Before making this video, I had a conversation with the head of Angelbird, and there's an important message that I want to communicate to you guys that he was explaining to me, and that is about the quality of their products. The cables and the memory cards and the memory card readers that they make are not just off-the-shelf things that everybody else is getting and they're just putting their name on it. These are all custom designed. Angelbird makes their own products. They design everything themselves in-house, and then the factories that are building their products are building them just for Angelbird. So quite often when you buy memory cards or whatever from other companies, you're buying the same products just with somebody else's label on it. So when it comes to Angelbird, it's different. It's not a consumer product. It's not a consumer brand. This is a professional product for the professional user, which means they have the prices to match. And you'll understand more about that in a moment. But you get what you pay for. And in this market, their gear is some of the best you can buy. Last time I did a video about Angelbird products, it was because they had just released their new CFexpress Type B cards, which are beautiful and fast, absolutely the fastest cards that I've ever tested. These are fantastic. And they had released their CFexpress Type B reader, which is this little guy here, which was really cool because, first of all, nice little door on there to protect it, the recessed USB cable on here. But the size of this is actually the same as their USB drive and any common USB drive for cameras. So this fits into the Condor Blue SSD drive holder, and that means that you can actually add CFexpress Type B to a camera that doesn't have it, but does have USB recording. Pretty cool feature. Anyway, the problem that I had with this reader was that it's only USB 3.2, which means it's only 10 gigabits per second, 20 gigabits per second if you have a dual lane PC, but for Mac users, it's only 10 gig, which is plenty fast for the camera, but when you're offloading files, it could be a little bit on the slow side, especially when you compare it to OWC's drive. This is OWC's CFexpress Type B reader, which is USB 4, so 40 gigabits per second. Well, as you might imagine, part of what we're talking about here today is Angelbird's new CFexpress Type B 4.0 reader. This is a 4.0, so 40 gigabit per second CFexpress Type B reader. It's very nice looking. It's got that same recessed cable slot, and it has active cooling. You can see the vents on the bottom there to keep it from overheating, and we are going to talk about that more in a little bit. So the big question that you're going to have to answer for yourselves is it worth the premium price tag? This is a $250 product versus the sub $100 product here. 250 euros, $250, same in both regions. This is a more advanced design. It is a more professional product, I would say. However, is it worth the price? That's something you're going to have to answer for yourselves based off of all the rest of the information I'm about to tell you. So this reader is designed to never ever slow down. One important thing you have to understand about working with electronics like this is all electronics get hot. And they all have operating thresholds, right? Limits that they can operate safely at. And if a memory card or a card reader or your computer or anything gets too hot, then it needs to cool down. And there's only two ways to cool down tech so that it's safe to keep operating. You can either slow it down, throttle it so it doesn't operate as quickly and it will therefore start to cool down, or you can do active and passive cooling. So this is a method of actually cooling down the product directly so that it continues to operate at full speed. And that is what Angelbird is doing. They've got a fan in here that will actively cool the product down if it gets too hot. Now, it's unlikely you're going to get to that point. You'd have to be doing a lot of copying back to back before you got to that point, but that's what it's for. Another important point about the design of these is the passive cooling capacity. It's not just about the fan. This whole thing is made of metal. It has no plastic exterior parts. And this is an important thing to know about temperatures of products. Quite often, and I'm guilty of this myself, I'll touch something that's all metal, like the CFexpress Type B cards, and think, man, this is really hot. This stuff's running really hot. It's not that it's running hot, it's that you can feel the temp because they've got a metal casing on it, which helps to dissipate that temperature, which helps to take that heat and move it outside of the box. A lot of cards and card readers have plastic over them, which feel cool to the touch, But the inside, the tech inside under that case could be baking. So Angelbird has designed their products to be all metal so that they do dissipate heat better. So you've got that passive cooling of an all metal chassis and the active cooling, if needed, of the fan in there. And this is an important thing to understand about it. Part of the design intention behind the active cooling and keeping it from ever overheating isn't just about copying files. You would have to copy a lot of files, back to back to back cards, to get it to the point where it's actually getting that hot. Part of the intention here is that you can actually edit from it. Now, editing off of the card is something that I have always recommended against. I really don't like that idea. I don't think it's safe. However, Angelbird has designed this reader specifically for that purpose. Now, if you are going to edit from it, I think precautions are still in order here. The risk of editing off of your only copy is, of course, that you could accidentally overwrite some media or delete some media, and that would be bad. So what I would recommend is, if you are going to edit directly off of the drive, is either have a backup that was made in camera, meaning recording your shots to both your CFexpress card and your SD card if you've got dual card slots, or at minimum, as soon as you plug this into your computer, start a copy. Don't use the Finder. I would recommend using Offshoots, the software that I use for my file copies. That can happen in the background while you start editing. There's plenty of bandwidth, right? So you're not gonna have a problem there. Even if you're copying it to slower media, you do wanna make sure that you are making that backup as quickly as possible. But the design is from the beginning so that you can edit from this card and from this reader. So bragging rights for Angelbird is that they have actually partnered up with RedBull, and I think they've done this a couple times, but most recently for the X Alps, which is a adventure race across the Alps. It's supposed to be one of the most difficult races in the world. And all of the content creators that are shooting for this are all shooting with Angelbird media. And part of this whole thing is that they are under immense pressure to get their content out as quickly as possible. So they're editing directly from the media, as we just talked about, and that's a workflow that's working great for them. So total bragging rights. I mean, RedBull's kind of cool, right? Check out this lens, by the way. This is the new LAOWA 12mm f2.8. I'm gonna be doing a video on this soon. I'm rigging this up so that I can do some shots with it. Pretty cool lens, real nice and smooth. We'll get to that another day. Some interesting points about this drive. The way that this is designed, the Mac sees this drive with the card in it as an NVMe drive that allows it to transfer the data at the highest speed possible. However, it also means that the Mac thinks it's just an internal drive, and so it disables sleep. There is no possibility to sleep an NVMe drive, which again is what the Mac thinks this is. That also means that you can't set it to read-only mode, which unfortunately means that this drive doesn't have one of my favorite features from the earlier drives, which is the little switch. The CFexpress Type B reader and the USB drive both have a little lock switch on them. That switch sets it into a read-only mode, so it is impossible to overwrite any media on it. I wish that you could have that on here, but it's just not technically possible, unfortunately. So that is one limitation or drawback, if you will, of this. It also means that when you have a card mounted in here and is plugged into your computer, even if you're not actively editing from it, this will be warm. It will feel warm to the touch because, again, the Mac will just not let this ever go to sleep. The card reader does come with its own USB cable. This is one of their SolidFlex cables. It fits in completely, so you can see here that it goes in nice and snug, nice and flush in there. But then when you want to take it out, you just pull that guy out and it's completely smooth on the side here, which I really like for a lot of reasons. One, there's no chance of this accidentally becoming unplugged. I mean, there's just no way. But also, if you're traveling, you unplug this, it means you don't have a cable that you have to kind of wrap around the product like that. So it's a really nice design. It also means that if you want to have a longer cable, you can. You could use one of these new SolidFlex cables. We're going to talk about these in a moment. And this one here is a 2-meter long cable. So you could have a really long media cable on here if you wanted to. Pretty nice. This video isn't actually sponsored by Artlist, but they did hook me up with an account to try out all their cool offerings. And if you hadn't guessed it yet, I use their AI generation tools a lot in the intro. Plus, I've used sound effects and music and LUTs and other things, but check out their AI tools that I used. First of all, obviously, that wasn't my voice in the intro.
In a world where everything is getting faster and faster,
it's the Artlist AI voiceover tool, and I played with the punctuation and quotes and things to get the timing the way I wanted it, and then ended up cutting together a few different takes to get what I thought was pretty awesome. And also, as you undoubtedly realized, The opening images of the futuristic world were all AI generated, which was super fun to play with. But the most interesting AI tool to me was the image to video feature. As you can clearly see, I'm not at home right now, I'm on the road, and I was a bit rushed to get this video shot before I left, and the intro was one of the last things I shot. I did shoot some quick and dirty turntable type video clips of a few elements, but I only shot a photo of the card reader. Then while I was editing the intro, I thought, oh, I should try to animate this image, and that's what I did. Here's the first attempt, which wasn't what I had in mind, but with a better text prompt, I got this one next. Pretty cool, right? We all know AI image and video generation is getting better and better, but this was the first time I'd tried something like this, and it was really eye-opening of what you can do today, and I'm sure I'll be using this a lot more. Another thing from Artlist, if you're a creator and you like money, Artlist has this thing called the Artlist 100K Fund. This is the third year of the fund, and basically if you're a content creator, all you have to do is submit your epic idea and the winner gets 100 grand to make their video. To enter, you just need to make a video explaining your idea, tag Artlist, and fill out a form online. All the info is in a link in the description below. Do me a favor, if you do apply, let me know in the comments that you did. I think this is a super cool opportunity, and I really hope that one of my viewers wins. All right, let's get back to Angelbird and hear that bald guy talk about cables. No, really, stick around. It's more interesting than it sounds. All right, I guess it's time to talk about these cables here. How exciting are cables? Well, usually not, but these are actually pretty cool. So first of all, the design is all about quality. As I said before, quality is the single most important thing when it comes to Angelbird products. Their cables are actually built in a factory that pulls their own copper wires. This is all done exclusively for Angelbird. And then these are designed with a silicone core and with this custom cotton braiding. And also every single cable is individually tested before it leaves the factory. So you know you're getting a high quality cable no matter what. So yeah, quality is kind of job one when it comes to these things. Angelbird is the only manufacturer with a 2 meter, 40 gigabit per second cable. This is a beast of a cable here. That means it can handle 8K 60 video at a 2 meter length. They are also the only ones to have a 4.5 meter cable that is 20 gigabit cable, but this is, it's very, very long. This is a 4K 60 at 20 gigabits, but it is also 240 watt PD, that's power delivery, 3.1 spec, which means you can use this for tethering, you can use this for charging your laptop, you can use, this is, there we go, there's the whole cable. This is a very, very, very long cable. Yeah, and they're the only one with something this big. Size matters. Also, each one of these cables has what's called an E marker chip in it. That little chip communicates with whatever you've plugged it into to negotiate the speed and the power delivery to ensure that you're always transferring at the highest possible speed and that you're always delivering the correct amount of power, not too little, not too much. That obviously matters when you're charging your devices. They are also available with straight or right angle connectors. So if you want straight connectors or right angle connectors, you've got the choice there to make. They also have a USB-A cable, so there's USB-A to C. Now, obviously, that's a slower cable. That's only 10 gigabit, being USB-A, but they have that cable as well. These are also designed so that they fit in most cell phones with a case on them. So if you've got a USB-C phone with a case on it, odds are pretty good that this is still going to fit to charge that. They come in this lime color as well as a subtle blue-gray color. You know, in a world of black cables, I'm all about the colors in here. And here's a price list and all the different SKUs. My only complaint about the cables is that they're not labeled, so you can't tell them apart. So I actually printed my own labels. I have a little label maker that makes these, and that way I can keep track of what they are. And honestly, I recommend doing this for any kind of cables that you have, but here I've got my length and the performance and the power delivery of each cable, which I think is just handy to have. So is it worth the extra cost for the quality of the card reader and the cables? Well, ultimately, that's only a question that you can answer. And I know for a lot of viewers, the answer will be no, and that's fine. If your livelihood relies on the absolute best performance, the most reliability possible, then it's worth every penny to buy gear like this. But that's not everybody's situation, and that's perfectly fine. So let me know in the comments what you think. Is it worth it to spend the extra money to have this extra high-end gear? If you're shooting for RedBull, then I think the answer is an easy yes. But that's not everybody's situation. I'd love to hear what you think. Drop a comment, and I'll see you in the next video.